Hey everyone, it's Rob Stanley with the Ecom Wiz podcast. And today my special guest is Jana Krekic. She's owner of YLT Translations. Jana, thanks for being on the podcast / YouTube channel.
Hi, Rob. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks so much. So we've actually met before briefly, and I've been just trying to get her on, but it had so far scheduled out. But today we want to talk about like common mistakes when expanding to Amazon international markets, but specifically with like translations of like titles, descriptions, and that's where you guys specialize, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. So why don't we jump right into and kind of explain to them maybe what are some of the issues you see when people are translating titles and descriptions on their Amazon international, marketplaces.
Right. So basically, like what I told you, we usually work with very big sellers. Like usually our audience is 7 to 8 figure sellers. And a lot of them still make this very common mistake. And that is that they hire a translator or a regular translation agency that has no knowledge about Amazon whatsoever.
Yeah.
So if you hire someone, let's say on Fiverr, you have a lot of amazing like native translators and they're all good. And when you want to translate how to use your vacuum cleaner or something like that. But like, what do they know about Amazon? Like, do they know the title length for certain categories? Do they know like how to place a keyword research? Do they even know what's a keyword research and what's a long tail keyword? They absolutely have no idea about this. And if you give this to a regular translator, you're just gonna have a text which is like translated like one-on-one, and like every word is going to be the same as it is in the original text. Whereas if you would use someone who has Amazon knowledge, you would see that this original text, let's say your US listing, is quite different on the German language, like translated for the German marketplace because of the keywords. Every keyword is different. Like you have to use the keyword search tool for each marketplace separately because it just doesn't work well when you just use the US keywords and just translate them as they are to another international marketplace. First of all, not all languages have the same structure. For instance, the German language, you have one big compound word, and actually you can use this one compound word to express a whole sentence in English. So it doesn't work well, like just to take like a one keyword and translate it to German, you would not get the same result, and you would not possibly get such a good search volume for that keyword as well. So it's very important to know what the translator is doing. If you want to hire a translator from Fiverr, you have to give him input, how you want things done. Don't expect that the translators know what they're doing. And usually a lot of them are not good at a sales copy. You have translators and you have copywriters. So like when doing something like that, just make sure that you know what the translator is going to be doing, and that he also knows how to do the competitor search. He doesn't have to use any tools if you don't want to give them the access to it, but you can just tell them like, go and search for competitors on a marketplace and just see what they're doing. If you really want to have this done better and you don't want to invest for the keyword research at the same time. Not all keyword tools have to be paid for. For instance, if you don't want to invest, like, of course, Helium 10 is now absolutely like #1 tool with all of the reinvention and everything what they've been doing. But if you don't want to invest in a tool, you can use Sonar. It's a Select tool. It gives like a lot of like overview of the international keywords, and you can get some good search volume results. Not as detailed as Helium 10, but it's free. Yeah. And another one really cool, it's an add-on. It's called AMZ Suggestion Expander. And you can just add it to your Google Chrome. And then when you type, like, let's say you wanna sell like a travel mug. If you type travel mug, you're gonna get this drop-down menu with the suggestions of the keywords which can come before and after this word. And it's really cool because if you want to sell a product and you're like the first person to sell a product on that marketplace, these tools like Helium or Sonar or any other tool, Seller Spray, they don't have enough data to extract from your competitors. And this is where this AMZ suggestion little tool really plays an important role, because it can give you like really cool keyword ideas and keyword suggestions for your product.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what about also, like, there's going to be times that certain words just don't quite translate, right? Isn't that, have you run into that issue?
Yeah, definitely. Like, so we've got an issue like with sellers telling us like, look, here are keywords, and just translate them to German or to French or whatever, or sellers just using Google Translate to do that. So we've had a lot of problems with sellers sending us already done keyword research, but done in with help of Google Translate, where it doesn't translate at all. Like, it doesn't translate well. And you would, if you type that word, it's completely relevant for your product, and not even the right product shows up. But we've also had cases where Google Translate actually does a good job. And this is also how your native translator would have translated a keyword. And we've had the example with the kitchen faucet. So faucet to Italian translates as rubinetto. And this is what you will get in Google Translate, and your native translator will tell you, like, this is rubinetto. We call this rubinetto at home. And if you go on Amazon.it and type rubinetto, you're not going to get a kitchen faucet, even though this is actual legit name for this product. Like, the kitchen faucet starts showing up on page 3. And, like what they say, like, where to hide a dead body, blah, 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 it's like page 2. So nobody wants to go further than page 1, definitely. And so the actual keyword you're looking for, like, if you want to be ranked for faucet, is miscelatore lavello. So it's even like a long tail keyword, 2 words, and nothing to do with this rubinetto, which actually should be a correct word, but Amazon doesn't use it that way, which probably in everyday speech people would. So this is why it's very important to tell that translator who you hired that they have to type what they think it's a keyword and see if the product is going to pop up or not. Otherwise, you're going to blow your whole, famous honeymoon period. You're not going to be ranked for relevant keywords, and you're just going to lose any potential, gain that you can get, like, at the beginning of this period, definitely.
Yeah. Is that also, so what you were just describing with that Italian word for, what was it, faucet, right? I think you said.
Yeah, faucet.
Is that also sort of have to do with like slang words, right? There's certain slang words we use for things versus sometimes some of the Fiverr people might just, like you were saying, they'll go step by step and just do traditional matching of words, and it doesn't always match. Whereas it could be a slang word that matches better, or am I kind of incorrect on that?
Well, that might be. And also, like, depending on the product, like, depending on what you're selling, like, if you're selling maybe like skateboard stickers or something like that, probably would be better to use slang words than just some, like, regular word for skateboard, or maybe something which would sound a little bit outdated. But I would just say that it really depends on the product. But what is absolutely mandatory is, like, you have to check your competitors and see what they're doing. Like, you don't want to, even though you think it's correct, maybe that's not something that this product should be ranked for. And absolutely to do the reverse ASINs in let's say Helium or whatever, or Jungle Scout, you want to look up your competitors and see who is really doing a good job. But as I said, if you really don't want to invest a lot of money in any tools or anything, you can just, manually type in and see what you get on Amazon. And I think this is going to be a really good, the good point, like which direction you should be going with your product.
Yeah, and you were telling me earlier you handle some pretty big sellers. So here's a question, and hopefully it'll be a tip for everybody. So of a lot of the Amazon sellers that sell in the United States, where do you tend to be translating first for them? What language and what country are you translating first to them? Because maybe that'll give a little tip on where they're selling first.
Right. Well, Germany is the second world market, definitely. I would always suggest sellers to start with Germany because it's the biggest marketplace, and especially now because VAT has been reduced to 16% due to COVID, and it's going to stay like that from 19 to 16, which is 3%. It's a lot, and we're talking about Germany, and so, like, till the end of the year, it's going to stay 16%. But a lot of US sellers, just because of language barrier, they go over to UK marketplace, which is absolutely logical. You want to, you don't want to waste money and time on the content and everything. So they're just gonna use their US listings on the UK marketplace. But this, as well, as I mentioned, the keyword research has to be done for each marketplace separately. You also really have to do the UK keyword research versus the US keyword research, because not at all times the keywords are going to be the same. Just think of, like, the, different, this is all like different English dialects to say so, like the American and British, like they say pants, they say trousers, like it's different. So this product might not be a good, like keyword fit to implement for, let's say, the UK marketplace. So definitely you can try and go to UK marketplace, but always, whatever you do, just make sure that you've done the keyword research and just to check if the keywords need to be changed a little bit. Maybe the title needs to be, differently optimized. This is definitely something that people should pay attention to. But definitely Germany is a very big marketplace. And I like to call it a 5-star marketplace because all the other countries that don't have Amazon, they get redirected and people buy from the German Amazon. So you just don't get access to Germans. You get access to basically everybody else. And the problem with the German market, and what I think it's even more important than translations, is definitely localization. Because if you just take your US listing and translate it as it is, like word by word from, let's say, a Fiverr translator to the German marketplace, it's just not going to sound good. It's going to be weird. US listings are very salesy. They push people into buying products. Buy my amazing products. Buy it now. Get it now, right? And it works in the States because that's what the culture is. That's all about that marketplace. But Germans are very direct, straightforward. What are the benefits of your product? How does it solve my problem? And don't get too emotional with me with your product. And don't tell me that your product is amazing. I will be the judge of that. And also from all of the other worldwide marketplaces, Germany is the one that gives out most refunds. So if the buyer reads something and they've got this impression about your product and you just deliver them something else because you failed to kind of adjust the listing a little bit to the marketplace, that's going to cost you a lot. So definitely you would have to adjust and localize and maybe even change some phrases, change some idioms, change some approach that you have to the client. And I always like to, there's one listing, it's an espresso glass cup we did. And the US listing says, the first bullet says, cool, cooler, coolest. And the German listing says, thermal isolated glass. This is the same bullet. It's just like, show me the features. I'm not gonna burn my fingers. So this is why I'm saying this. And then bullet 3 was something like a metaphor with like your old grandma used to sit in front of the fireplace, blah, blah. And the German, it says, elegant and stylish design, so it's quite a big difference. And you really have to be careful with the choice of words you're using for the German marketplace because you really want to sound professional. Of course, this depends on the product you're selling. Of course, if you're selling a big pink bunny for kids, you're definitely going to have a different approach, but you also have to be really careful with how far you want to take this, like how far do you want to go with the emotion and beyond and stuff like that. So it's quite different in style. And if you completely fail to grasp that mentality and to not know who you're selling to, your product might not be, getting so many sales as you would want because it's addressing the wrong audience completely. And sometimes not even making a lot of sense when having like one text translated as it is to a completely different culture and marketplace. And, like US and Europe are completely two different cultures, heritages, everything. Like people are different approach, different lifestyle. So it's something that you really have to pay attention to. A lot of sellers unfortunately don't, but I think that the key to having a successful content on each marketplace is definitely searching a little bit that marketplace and knowing who your audience is. You really have to know who you're addressing. As you mentioned, is it going to be more in slang? Is it going to be like sarcastic or funny or serious? Like you really also have to know how you're going to express that in a foreign language.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's great information because I mean, I think a lot of people, they unfortunately try to take kind of that cheaper route going to Fiverr and sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. But I think you hit it perfectly that people need to really understand that marketplace. The person that's translating it for you needs to have a good understanding of that marketplace, what local words are used or how it translates properly. I mean, you're talking about potentially millions of dollars here,
Exactly.
in profits, so why would you skimp and try to really cut corners too much when you could get somebody who could do the research, understand how to translate the words over properly, and they fit correctly and they're searched correctly. It brings up a quick question. Good.
Yeah, and sorry, when you mentioned the pricing and everything, like people, sellers trying to be cheap with this and cutting corners, a lot of sellers, of course, photography, like your pictures, your A+ content, that's all very, very important. But that costs like 5 times more than translations. And once you get your translations done for the first time, you just need to optimize them every 5 or 6 months, like in order to find maybe like seasonal keywords or something like that. But apart from that, it's basically like a one-time project for you. You don't have to keep it ongoing, changing, adjusting, whatever, like PPC campaigns. You like have to pay like a monthly fee to PPC service, right? But like if you hire a translator or somebody who knows what they're doing, it's a one-time fee and you're done. Your product continues their life without new translations, except like if you want to optimize it, which I would also highly recommend. A lot of sellers don't do that. Sometimes there's no need, but like you just have to kind of, just double check how well is your listing doing. Maybe there are some better keywords after 6 months. Maybe you need to refresh your listings, but this is like really, I'm talking about like a really minimal fee for this. Like it's not going to cost you the same as a completely new translation.
Yeah. So let's let everybody know we got lots more to talk about, but specifically for the people listening that sell on Amazon, what services title, right? That's one of you translate titles. Tell them the rest of them that you guys translate.
We basically translate everything. And so like when we talk about a listing, we have like really like this unique package where we basically offer everything. So if you have title bullets, main images, I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but all sellers, you cannot change your main image because it's same as on all marketplaces, but a lot of people still want to do main images. So we also do text on images. We do product description, A+ content. There is no word limit for your listing. We basically translate everything and we deliver backend search terms. So this is like a whole package we offer for your listing. You just send us a link, or if you want to send a flat file, it's fine. So whatever like form of your text you want us, to get your listing in, we can do that, and we deliver the whole product to you, like back to you, like in a different language. We don't go into anybody's accounts. We don't upload directly to accounts, but we also create flat files. So if you don't have A+ content, you can upload them that way. It's very easy for some categories, like food categories and like a clothing. Like they have like short descriptions, so it's quite easy to put everything in a flat file, and you just go to your seller account, upload it. If you don't know how to download flat files or how to upload them, I can send you an instruction for that. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and it really, it's going to take like 10 seconds for you to do that.
Yeah. So why don't you also tell everybody what languages you guys are currently translating?
Right. So we are covering all European marketplaces. That is Germany, UK, of course, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, the Netherlands. We used to offer Turkish, but like there was like no demand for that at all. So that's when it comes to a European marketplace. Also, we do cover Poland and Czech Republic because there was a lot of noise about Polish marketplace being enrolled this year, but we're probably gonna sit and wait a little bit longer till that happens. And when it comes to worldwide marketplaces, we do Mexico, we do Canada, both English and French. We do Middle East, Amazon, and we do Singapore and Japan.
Japan, yeah, I was gonna say, I think Japan you also mentioned. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let's let everybody also know, okay, so translations, we've been talking a lot about, Amazon with translations, but there's a lot more you guys do. And I actually got on their website and I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize they did these too. So tell us a little bit about the translations you do for, I think you said AdWords and Facebook also, right?
Yeah, so we do all ads translation depending on where you need them. So it's like both AdWords and Facebook. It's also basically a combination of 25 to 30 characters depending on the ad with keywords. So we also take the keyword research, and even though it's a super short ad, it takes a lot of work. So it's just not like let me translate the 35 characters or whatever. You just have to put the keywords. It's also very tricky for some languages to keep it really short, because not all languages have the same phrase like, get in or hop on or something like, you're not going to find that in every language. So it's a really very challenging niche of translations to do those like super short ones and to fit them in some certain limits and characters, and also to provide very good keywords. The same goes for a ManyChat sequence. And it's very, very important because, you know, like every brand, they have their own story. They want to keep certain style. So you really want to be like very engaging. Also, like for ManyChat sequence, like localization is the most important thing, because you want to have this personal approach to your buyer, and you really want to sound natural, like, so not more like, you know, it should be a flow, not like this robotic crazy messaging. So it's also very challenging, but it's really, really fun. And I think translators really enjoy working on these different projects, because translations for Amazon are so much fun because you have so much more creativity. You rewrite text a lot of times. It's not just like when translating contracts. I'm a translator myself, and I know like how boring it is to translate like a 2,000 page like a contract or 5,000 words website with, you know, like some products, and you don't have any liberty in expressing the actual, you know, the marketplace spirit of the language and stuff like that. So this is very, very interesting, and a lot of sellers really need this. Also, when it comes to follow-up emails, this is also something where you have to express yourself and your brand. It also has to be done in certain style as well. A lot of sellers say, like, we sell, let's say, those pink bunny toys, and we really want to sound a little bit childish and playful in these emails, even though the listings don't sound like that. But like, it's a very important thing to understand the client and the style they want to present to the customers. And that's also a really big challenge, but also, as I said, it's a very creative process.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then I also want to mention, because you mentioned it to me, so if you didn't hear, she also mentioned websites. So they do websites and then package branding. That's something that I saw and I was like, wow, a lot of people could benefit from that, because I think packaging sometimes gets like set aside as the last thing that they translate, right? And it's definitely important, right? It's representing you when it shows up.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of I mean, everybody, like, let's, you know, everybody understands English. So if I have like this box and I'm selling this travel mug, I can leave this in English. But believe you me, when I say that, you know, the buyers, when they see something in their own language, or, you know, when they see like a small message or something like written in their own language, it's like an additional plus to your product. And it's not going to cost you a fortune. It's going to cost you a little bit extra, but it's definitely going to pay off. And I just think that people don't expect that. If I'm sitting in Italy, I don't expect that I get like this super cool travel mug with instructions and like this cute note and brand logo and the name of the product in Italian. And I think this is something that the consumers would definitely, you know, maybe they're gonna write a 5-star review to you because of that, because you localize that product for them. Maybe it's not the best product ever, but if you try and localize it as much as possible, some of your competitors would not be doing that for sure. And I think that like from 5 competitors, I think that 3 are definitely not having the customized packaging. And I think that this is something that can give you a slight edge over your competitors, definitely.
Yeah. Could you also give us an example of a company you've dealt with, and maybe, you know, maybe tell us what category it was that they just were kind of failing in the whole, you know, differentiating themselves in a marketplace, and what you guys did to help them?
Yeah, well, like I have a really good example, and there were also actually a couple of clients who were in the supplement category, and they were selling all sorts of random vitamins and supplements. Yeah, and so they were trying to sell something in Canada, but they're addressing the French Canadians, and they were just like, their packaging was just, you know, it was okay, and I mean everybody could understand that, but the feedback we got is like, after we've done the French Canadian, that they got positive results, that they got people, what I actually mentioned, you know, like people will give you 5-star reviews because of the packaging. People were complimenting on their branding and logo, and they did nothing different. They just had this translated. I mean, this was not like thousands of people, but they told me that they got a good feedback because of the packaging, which was absolutely the same as it was in English, but just this, because being in French, they were like it was like, basically it was like English and French, like the labels were both languages, but people were really complimenting on that because, you know, somebody showed an effort and somebody knows the audience who they're selling to. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about, I mean, we talked a little bit about Google Translate and some of the issues with it just kind of trying to translate instead of having a full understanding of how it flows, right? Like I've done it. I've taken, how many times, I know people out there listening have taken something, put it in Google Translate, took what they translated, put it back in and reconverted it back to English, and it doesn't look anything like what you put in there. I mean, that happens all the time. But we do know with, some of the technology coming out, they are getting better. And kind of what's your thought on, I mean, I feel personally you guys are going to be around a long time because having a good understanding of some of these slang words, whereas, Google Translate kind of just tries its best. But do you see, other sort of technology out there catching up a little bit with translating?
Yeah, well, there's like, the whole machine learning and everything, like all those like different software tools, and they've come a long way. And Google Translate has become, I would not say a good tool, but it has nothing to do with the tool it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So you would like, you would get a decent text, like you would understand what the text is about. You would be like, I know how to repair my vacuum cleaner now. It would understand some things. But the problem is that all of the sellers, they really want to send this message to the buyer. They really want to connect with them. They want to get emotional about their product. The problem is that Google Translate doesn't have that emotional feel to your text. And Google Translate doesn't know something called context. So if you expect the Google Translate to kind of understand the connections between sentences or even paragraphs, that's not going to happen. Maybe you would just get lucky, but I would say in a lot of cases, people would not convey the message to their consumers the way they want to with using Google Translate. And I also really don't like when sellers just use Google Translate as quality check. I think also that's very, very bad. And I think that, if you had someone done to do your translations to French, and then you put it French to get English, and you get absolutely the same text, that's also not good, because that text cannot be 100% the same. And that probably means that this person used a machine tool, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of that, and we did talk a little bit about this, but kind of give everybody your pricing. Like, how does the pricing work if I come to YLT Translations and I, want your service? I noticed you had a pricing tab, but just kind of explain to everybody who's listening how the pricing works.
Right. So we have this really like a completely full packaging that we're offering for product listings. And we usually charge one listing per language. We charge it around $100. The prices are in euros, but it's $100. But if you use the listing and translate it to multiple languages, the price goes down. So it goes down to about $90 per listing per language. So it's about $360 for 4 main languages in Europe. If you want Dutch marketplace as well, that's probably going to be around $420. But if you have more than 5 ASINs, the price goes down. So the more ASINs you have, more discount you get. So if you have more than 5 ASINs, you can definitely contact me or my team, and we will be happy to give you a discount or a better price for long-term collaboration. It really depends. It's basically, it's very negotiable because we really want to show how much more you can do when you get your listings done the right way.
Yeah. And done correctly. That's the big one, right?
And correctly, yeah.
So I was asking you this earlier, but you got to tell everybody. So how many languages do you personally know?
I speak 5 languages.
5 languages. What are they?
They are Norwegian, Danish, German, French, English, and Serbian is my native, so I don't count 6 as
All right, here's an oddball question. Which one was the hardest to learn?
Danish.
Okay.
Because of the pronunciation. And a funny thing about Danish is that Danish kids, they don't pronounce Danish the right way until they're 6 years old.
Huh.
This is how hard the whole pronunciation game is.
Dang. I'm just having a problem learning English, but so I noticed that you said you're a certified translator. What was kind of the process of becoming certified as a translator, and what's involved in that?
Right. Well, the important thing is, of course, that you have to have bachelor's and master's in languages and literature, which I do. I have for Norwegian, Danish, and Germany. German. And then after that, you have to be certified within an association. There's the American Association of Translators. There are like a lot of different associations, a couple of like biggest in the world. You have to pass their tests, and after that, you get to be certified.
Nice. And what did you do before starting YLT Translations?
Well, right after my university, right after my master's in translation literature, I got a job in a Danish company. It was a Danish startup. They were an e-commerce. There was like 4 of us, and I was actually working in a call center, and I had a fake name. My name was Heidi Larsen, and we were pretending to sit in Copenhagen. And I was like, oh my God, like I was 20, like salary was insane. And I was just happy to have a job. And it was more of like, I was like thinking of like, we're playing some games here. We're not actually working. And then 8 years later, I was actually operations manager of the company who grew to be the biggest e-commerce in that part of Europe. There were 400 employees. They were selling, cross-selling over 15 countries. They were like 7-8 figure sellers, both like in e-commerce. They were doing Shopify. They were doing Amazon. They were doing basically everything there is, affiliate programs. It was insane. And I was really happy to be part of it and to see what it was like for a company to grow and to be actually in charge of so many people, different departments. I was flying across Europe to open different companies' branches, and it was a really an amazing experience. But actually, I've always wanted to start something on my own and to be my own boss, because I just thought that I could do so much more. And I quit my job 3 years ago, and so I decided to, to have my little baby of YLT Translations.
That's awesome. That's great. And, I think that's one of the things that sets you apart, is that you have been in that e-com world, you've been in that Amazon world, you understand, you took the approach of making sure that when people come to you, that you understand pay-per-click, keywords, how to look them up, what needs to be changed correctly, how it needs to be localized so people locally searching are match that keyword. And that is something I think you just don't get that on like a Fiverr or a Free Up. And I'm not saying that those don't have a place. I'm just saying that, when you're regarding a business, and especially companies that you're trying to build up to be 7-8 figure type businesses, there's certain areas you just can't skimp on. You got to just, bite the bullet, get it done correctly. Like you mentioned, most of the time it's almost a one-time deal for each product, and you get it going. So,
yeah, exactly. And what I think is really important is that all of the translators that come and work for us, they have to have some sort of a marketing experience in translations. Because if you have a translator and he says like, oh, I do medical, I do legal, that's insane. And that's almost impossible to be a really good translator in such 2 different areas of expertise. It's like, like I'm a dentist and I am a dental surgeon. I'm a plastic surgeon. It's a completely different thing. And you when you hear something like that, you probably are not dealing with the best possible translator for you. And whoever comes and joins our team, they have to go through our internal academy, to say so, and they get training, they get everything, so that we know that they absolutely understand how Amazon works and what's it like to create a listing. We just don't give the translations to a random translator, because these people, they have to understand how it works and why we do things the way we do. That's absolutely mandatory. And I think a lot of people don't understand. They don't even know that Amazon has some sort of an algorithm which changes, and why is the title so important, or backend search terms and stuff like that.
Yeah, where do you see YLT Translations kind of going next? What's your next step?
Well, we really want to be, the leaders of the whole field. I think that we've grown a lot for the last 2 years, but I really want us to be like the best provider possible for the translation. So like when somebody thinks about international listings and content, they think of us. They think of like these 3 letters and 3 different colors, because I just wanted to have like this colorful logo, so it's quite recognizable for people. And I just think that we will be ready for all the future marketplaces and expansion. And we're also going to be on this, speaking at this Amazon webinar. We also have a lot of inside information, so we know what's new and cool, and we'll be ready whenever something new shows up. And I think that's very important in this whole business, that you have to be up to date, and you have to step up your game, and just be always ready, and that's it basically.
That's great. And so everybody knows, just so it's YLT translations with an S on the end.com. YLT translations.com. Got to go check it out. And before we go, in German, how do you say Rob has a great hairdo?
Rob hat ein fantastisches Haar.
There you go. So obviously everybody on the podcast, you're going to have to go look me up to see how funny that was. Well, thank you so much for being on the Ecom Wiz podcast. I really appreciate it.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information, please visit feedbackwiz.com.